breaking down Eternal MMA 92 Feb 8th in Sydney right now.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your main event.
Live from HBF Stadium Festival Hall. Melbourne Pavilion.
Not even backstage, we're literally outside.
Was that the best fight card in Australian MMA history?
Call me crazy, but make sure you call me when I'm right.
Be good if the Aussie MMA Instagram page would give us a bit of glow up because
welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Australian MMA podcast. My name is Mr. Tinley. I'm in my hotel of UFC weekend in Sydney. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a breakdown. It's Sunday, Feb 9th, 9:30 on the dot. Going to break down yesterday's Eternal MMA 92. There will be zero cuts because I'm trying to get it done. I'm going to fly it in like a couple hours. So you're just going to have to put up with my longer than usual rambling. I want to run through the card. It was a nice show. I think it was the Rose Hill race courses. Really nice venue. I really liked it. Crowd was shit. Sydney, you suck. That's my opinion. Your crowd, you was horrible. Maybe it's because you're not used to having regional fight shows. Bring back Urban Fight Night. Yeah, Sydney regional MMAs are weird, bro. It's like they don't know how to have a good time. And I get it, because there's like 9,000 cops there. They're waiting for you to get rowdy so they can shut the show down. Sydney's a weird place. Like people, like individually. It's a weird place. Weird place. Now, about the card, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fights. There was 3 on the undercard, which I think were free on Eternal MMA. They might still even be there. And the rest were on UFC Fight Pass, so you can check it out, UFC Fight Pass, on search Eternal MMA 92. Look, first 3 fights, we had Alex Panaris versus Mason Nabetsu. Now, if you go back and watch that fight, Nabetsu catches him with a really stiff shot. Hurts him bad, or at least it looks like it hurts him like quite bad. 22 seconds. He seems to get back up, and then the ref jumps in, stops the fight. It's all over. Nabetsu wins 22 seconds in. Now, live, I thought he was smoked. Then Panaris' team's kind of come out and said, like, nah, it was fine type thing, stupid ref. And I was like, and I watched it back again, and I was like, well, the ref did come in like super late, and I feel like if you're that late, like he was so late, it'd be like in basketball if you called a foul, and then, or you missed a foul, and they went up the court, back the court, up the court, back to the court, and then called a foul again. Like it just felt really weird. So it kind of took the steam out of Nabetsu Sales' weird win now. Great shot, like would look amazing on a highlight. I don't know if he was okay or if he wasn't or whatever. Like I'm not going to argue that. You guys can do that in the comments. But Nabetsu, great showing. He looked amazing. He looks amazing. He's like a smaller, faster, more Asian Seb Saleh. So look, training out of Absolute MMA, Nabetsu is going to be a stud. Name to remember. Really remember him because he's coming. Now, who else we got here? Corey Sutcliffe taking on Chris Ustijanovsky. If you didn't notice that, that's when I would have cut. So, enjoy. Chris Ustijanovsky training out of Lionsden Academy. Coming off the back of a pretty bad weight miss his last fight. He's on the dot this time, and boy, did he look slick. Corey Sutcliffe, I think it was a split decision. I can't even remember the results. I do apologise. I know it was a decision, and Ustijanovsky won. Corey had some good moments, but I just think Chris looked too slick. I think he's one of the better bantamweights going around. Obviously coming off the back of that Conor Birch knockout, so it's good to see Chris back. He's been hyped up for a long time, so very interested to see what Chris has in store next. Because he's now kind of back on the hype train the way he was supposed to. Now, moving up to the next fight, Emil Jerry's versus Christian Lapham. Now, that 100% was a split decision. Christian Lapham is just, white lightning. Like, he's good. He's only 22. He's very dangerous. He hits hard. Emil Jerry's is really, really good as well. I think he's a Sydney boy. Christian ended up taking out the victory. Christian's very, very good. Emil also very good. I don't know what Christian Lapham should sort of do now. I think he's 3-0 in the middleweight. But the interesting thing with middleweight is once you hit that upper echelon, there's like guys that are like, you know, Matt Myers, John Martin Fraser, Darcy Vendy. Or before that, there's no one, you know, or it's like guys that are like 1-0, 2-0. So it's like, it's quite tricky. I actually wouldn't mind Lapham versus Stoddart. That would be a fun fight. I think they fought at 170 back in the day, unless I'm mistaken. And like, we'll talk about Stoddart in a second. That fight obviously won't happen. But Christian Lapham, just a cool kid. Like, he also had a little bit of staph, which he fought through. Antibiotics as well. Anyone that doesn't know, when you're on antibiotics for staph, it can really like zap your cardio. So shout out to Christian Lapham. He did really well. Emil Jerry's too, just very exciting. A very exciting fight. I think he's 2-1. If I'm not mistaken, Emil Jerry's fought Ben Johnston. Yeah, unfortunately lost to him. He's fought Samad, Zach Hogan, like two really good guys, or three really good guys, including Johnston. So just coming up short against Lapham. No shame. He'll be back. But then it's like, who does Lapham fight? He's already at 3-0. Sorry, this was at 2-0. He was, I'm just looking at Tapology right now. He was the number 15 pro middleweight in Australia at 2-0. So who's above him? You know, like, most of these guys aren't even fighting. Here's who's above him. Abel Brights, not really fighting anymore. Priscus Foganolo, not really fighting anymore. Ben Johnston, retired. Like, do you know what I mean? There's not... Jonathan Valuz is number 5. This is a fun fact. Brogan Anderson, retired. And then you've got Darcy Vendy, Cam Ralston, John Martin Fraser, Matt Myers. Like, what do you do? Very tricky. I think Fergus Jenkins. Yeah, he's 2-0. I think he fought on Shuriken. Maybe that'd be a nice fight. Oh, D. Samasoni. I know he goes to welterweight, I think, now, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Maybe D. Samasoni come back up. Oh no, sorry, just thinking out loud here. But yeah, someone like that. Maybe like that Fergus Jenkins that I just mentioned. That would be good. Like two young up-and-comers. You're not just throwing them sort of to the wolves, which Alfred Stoddart has had to do. Which moves us on to the Alfred Stoddart versus Cam Ralston match. No, it doesn't. That's way further up. Look, that was the prelim card before we moved on to UFC Fight Pass, Eternal MMA 92. So that's done. You can go check it out. I think still eternalmma.com. Now, if we move into the UFC Fight Pass card, like I said, I will get to the Stoddart matchup. But the first fight on the card, Blair Bragg bouncing back from his loss to Cam Ralston. Everyone's so intertwined. He took on 1-on-1 Luke Stockman. Very similar situation, middleweight, light heavyweight. Light heavyweight's even worse. Because Stockman's like 1-on-1 and Blair Bragg, you know, you have to fight him. That's ridiculous. Blair Bragg could be fighting for a title at any minute. And he proved that too, because his punching power is like unmatched. So it's good to see him bounce back. Upper weight class, more power, put Stockman out. Blair Bragg made a case for the light heavyweight title. There is no one else for him to fight at light heavyweight, so it's very hard. He said he's willing to go up and down to middleweight and light heavyweight. But I think, hey, just for kicks, give him light heavyweight title. I think. Let me even have a look at this. You guys can do this live. Let's go light heavyweight, Tapology, professional, Anzacs. Holy shit. There he is. Literally no one. Literally no one. The number 12 right now, he's a scary guy. But the number 12 ranked light heavyweight is James Wong at 0-1. And his professional bout was at welterweight. That's how messed up that is. Like, there's Luke Stockman, and that's it. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right, Ben Vickers. He said there was enough people to give him a belt. Yeah. Well, Back to middleweight. Blair, maybe you're going to have to fight John Martin Fraser. Just do it in the gym. Let us know who won. Yeah, it's going to be very tricky for him. Light heavyweight was fun to watch him at, but yeah, Blair Bratag, back to middleweight. There is no one at light heavyweight at all. Up next, the second fight of the UFC Fight Pass card at MMA 92. Shane Parker, Sean Etchell. Sean Etchell started off really well. A man that was once, road to UFC. He was a UFC prospect. He's a two-weight world champion or two-weight eternal MMA champion. I think it was flyweight and bantamweight, a couple of years apart. But Shane Parker, former Commonwealth Games wrestler, just absolute stud. Missed him on the night. So, Shane, I do apologise. I will catch up with you at some point and do a little interview if you would like. Shane Parker, just not scared of anyone, will fight anyone and as game as they come. So I think it's really cool to see him get a victory over someone as good as Sean Etchell. And, I could watch guys like Shane Parker and Paul Logar just throw down. Because I know that Shane Parker can go bantamweight and fly. But I don't really know what he wants to do, Mr. Shane Parker. You know what? I probably would have found out if I was professional enough to go track him down and have an interview with that night. So, Shane, very sorry. But let me know what you're up to and what your plan is. Next fight, final 4 fights, actually. I found this. It's my one critique of the card, and I'd love for someone to jump in there. I don't know why Cam Rouston and Alfred Stoddart was 4th last. It should have been 3rd last. I would have preferred Philpott earlier. I know he's a Sydney boy, which that probably makes sense, but then so is Stoddart. So, I don't know. Maybe he sold all the tickets. But look, Alan Philpott back in the winner's circle, which is very, very good for him, against Tomoya Hirakawa. I think he's a decent guy from Japan. I think the last time I checked, he was like 18-9 or something. Had a nice record. I didn't hear this post-fight interview, but I get told after Alan knocked him out that Alan called for a title shot, which, look, there's not a whole lot of bantamweights in the Eternal division sort of knocking down the door, and me and Alan had a bit of back and forth about it, which I love. Love Alan. Been around for a long time, absolute veteran. Horrible weight miss, and he talks about that. But unfortunately, he's an absolute professional, and it doesn't happen too often, but it did happen, which sucks. So that kind of puts a little bit of stain on this victory. But I think he called for a shot with Ito, Kuya Ito, who I don't think beat Rod Costa, but did beat Rod Costa for the Eternal Bantamweight Championship. I think he called for a title fight with him. I actually would like, because Rod Costa has beaten Alan Philpott before. I've already said this, and Alan disagrees, so you don't need to message me abuse. Alan and Rod, I think, should run it back, even though Rod is taking on Tim Moore. So it's a little bit confusing there. I also threw Connor Birch, who beat Chris Usunovsky, Alan's teammate, with a beautiful knockout. He's only 2-0, but I think he's just doing really well. And I suggested him for Alan, and he said no. He said, he's 2-0, and he, I think, got kind of mad. But I just think that'd be a fun fight. Anyone else you think Alan should fight? In the comments, or let me know. Alan Philpott's absolute stud. I know he makes a lot of friends and a lot of enemies and whatnot, because he just says what's on his mind. But he's man, when Alan Philpott is in form, Australian MMA is better for it. So hopefully we'll see what Alan has. And if he does get a title shot against Ito, let me tell you this, Alan, I think you'll win. Okay. Now, next fight, Alfred Stoddart, Cam Rouston. Cam Rouston coming back from Dynamite Contender Series, unfortunately going down to Therese Finney. Alfred Stoddart continuing his win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, and fighting the absolute best middleweights. I mean, he fought Darcy Vendy in his first ever professional fight. That should show you how game Alfred Stoddart is. Cam Rouston performing with Hunter Campbell, the UFC's sort of second in charge, right there, keeping an eye on him. Cam Rouston, nice, tough back and forth fight, amazing grappling. Obviously, Cam Rouston would have loved the knockout or the submission. Let's not act like he wasn't looking for it. Alfred Stoddart is incredibly hard to put away without risking it all. And with Hunter Campbell there, it would have been very, very difficult. I wouldn't be surprised if, even with this victory, even though it wasn't like super fair and friendly, although the post-fight interview was, and the fight was fun too. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like some violent spinning back kick knockout or whatever. I do think that even with that victory, he will be maybe in the UFC, or at least get another Contender Series chance, because the guy that beat him had like 3 before he got in. So Alfred Stoddart, tad to him. You can see the interview as well. He is heading back to welterweight, and that is going to breathe more life into the division. He also said to me a little rumor that a little champion, not little, but a champion, may be returning one day. So I'll leave that with you guys. But Alfred Stoddart, yeah, is going to do some absolute damage at welterweight, of which he has fought before as an amateur. Cam Rowson, I still think, I think he'll be in the Contender Series by, June, July, August, whenever it is. So he might just sit and wait. If not, him and the winner of Matt Myers and Darcy Vendy would be cool. And I think if the timing works, we'll get that. If not, I think we'll just see him in the Contender Series again. Finally, not finally. Oh, wow, I actually did it the other way around. That's so funny. Sorry, you just inside my brain. Alan's fight was 3rd last, Cam Rowson that were 4th last, and then I switched it around anyway. So it's very interesting that I did that. I'm a bit of a retard. Anyway, co-main event, that was absolutely, I thoroughly enjoyed that fight. Seb Saleh, the most informed fighter currently in Australian MMA. He won the bout, split decision in front of Hunter Campbell. I think it was good. It was a back and forth fight. Yeah, would you have loved a knockout? Absolutely. To get signed to the Contender Series. I think maybe one more, and he's there. He just needs that one more highlight reel to get to the next level. But man, he is, from where he started to where he is, Seb Saleh is incredible. Training out of freestyle MMA and going back and forth with the killers over there. And Taser Malone, just not yet. I think that was his best fight, even though he lost. And that's what sucks as well, is because he hasn't, Taser's not like some 20-fight veteran or has held multiple titles or whatever. People won't give Seb the credit for what he did against Taser, and Taser looked incredible. He really, really did. And I think this fight is going to do, it's going to be the Cody Haddon when he lost to Usyk type thing. Like, I think it's just going to fire him up and spur him on, and Taser Malone is going to go on some crazy win streak and eventually claim the title. Fun fact too, Seb Saleh in the interview called himself the #1 featherweight in Australia, and then we had a bit of chat about George Mangos. And I know that George is probably off to bigger and better things, but boy, would I love him and Seb Saleh going at it. But George Mangos, of course, taking on Ethan Thomas. And if he wins that, he'll be into the UFC as well. But yeah, Seb Saleh, I think one more to come. It'd be interesting to see sort of who pops up. And, I would like to see some guys from other promotions pop over or vice versa. I don't really care. But yeah, I think Seb's one away from being undeniable. You could put him in now, but I think he's one fight away from being undeniable for the Contender Series. Finally, guys, and remember, make sure you like, subscribe, all that sort of stuff for the podcast. It helps out a lot. Steven Casello versus David Martinez for the welterweight championship. Now, sort of full story. Steven Casello was brought in from Ireland back in October, whenever it was, to fight Alden Bates for the welterweight title. Alden ended up missing by many a kilo, and Steven Casello was not happy. And then he basically went away. Eternal made him the interim champ. And then he came back to essentially defend said interim champ. I don't know how that works. Against David Martinez, who, speaking of weight misses, missed lightweight about 47 times and finally has a nutritionist, fought at welterweight, beat a guy that kind of was a lightweight anyway, so there's still question marks on if he can actually compete at welterweight. So when he steps in the cage against Steven Casello, we were all very unsure of how this was going to go. David Martinez was noticeably smaller. Steven Casello looked like a middleweight. That's how big he is. And not only did David Martinez him with his grappling, he got cracked and he cracked back. And let me tell you this now. I've given David Martinez so much shit. And does he still have his arch nemesis, the lightweight scale? Absolutely. And I'd love to see him conquer that one day. But he is without a doubt he has probably the best resume in all of Australian MMA. The guys he has fought are there's some of, if not the best lightweights kind of in Australian MMA history. And many of them he's beaten like twice. And it's interesting to see him at welterweight. Could you imagine him versus Alden Bates? You know, could you imagine him versus John McAuliffe? Could you imagine him versus Jack Della? Who knows? But he took Costello and he did it very well. David Martinez, it just seems to be finally starting to get back on track. I think he personally will want to eventually go back down to lightweight, and I feel like now that he has the belt and welterweight is getting like a tiny bit thin, it would be kind of cool to see him go down, make the weight, and like claim the belt that way, you know. But yeah, I think if David Martinez, because he's got that style, might not, and he's the age as well, he might not get to the UFC. And if he doesn't, and we had a Hall of Fame, I could see David Martinez being sort of the greatest fighter in Australian MMA history to not make it to the next level. Does that make sense? At least the most accomplished. How's that for a little controversial take? But I am hearing rumours, believe it or not, that old Lockie Stitt might actually be back. Might actually be a shorter retirement than we originally thought, but that is just pure 100% rumours. David Martinez versus Kit Campbell, like, what would that do? Like, I'm interested to see what David Martinez does next. That's all I'm saying. Stephen Costello, although really good and big, he's, you know, not as proven as some of the other guys and whatnot. So I'd be very interested to see kind of what comes next. What do you think? Anyway, go check it out. UFC Fight Pass, Tinley MMA 92. And remember, Feb 22nd, Eternal heads back to Perth. Drillich tries to put on an absolute beatdown to get himself back to the Contender Series. Guys, like, subscribe, all the channels. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you next time.